So I hope you have your tinfoil hat all made and cinched down tight over your ears. So take it away, Dave and Mickey.
And in the words of our illustrious leader, thank you very much, and may you forever rest in peace. Nighthawk, guess what? My name's Dave.
I am Mickey.
And we are Shiny Side Out in this time slot. And we're on WZZR, coming to you from Australia for Revolution Radio on revolution.radio, where it's home to fresh, unfiltered ideas and conversations. And you'll find those in the chat room. That's where Mickey and I are right now, and you can talk to us while we're on air. The station's website is also a tremendous place to get your merchandise from. Do explore that. I know that a mad painter is the artiste, who is, he's super talented, and he's put together artwork there with, branded Revolution Radio artwork. And you can find that as mugs and t-shirts and things like that. Look through the website. This is show number 587.
780 on 500.
Wow. That's a German who's hopped the barriers. There we go.
That is true.
Catch us on air, online, and anywhere on your smart device, or grab an app to listen, or simply put your feet up, sit in your favorite rocking chair on your porch, listening through a Grace tabletop digital radio. Wow, I could have done a bit better job on that. If you missed Solaris' show, you did miss out. You missed out. Lorien Fenton. She's another host from Revolution Radio. She's great. I've been in roundtables with her in the past. Might have been quite a long time ago, but that doesn't matter, because that's what kind of friends are for, right? You can just call them up and say hi. So hello to both Solaris and Lorien Fenton. And they were talking about UFOs. That's kind of a hot topic these days because of the release, the approved, remember this, a US Defense Department approved release of David Grusch and his information to the public. Approved. Done. Shouldn't be any question. There shouldn't have to be anything else, although people are verifying it. It's good to see that this conversation is back. And it's one of those, I hate to say I told you so moments, certainly from me. Let's go back to, who was the first fellow, Mackie, with glasses that came out and talked about Area 51?
Bob Lazar, my friend.
Bingo.
Bob Lazar.
He said the same kind of information, though he was meant to be only simply an employee. Yeah. He did talk about Element 115 and that little hand scanner thing. No one believed any of that was real. Then recently footage has come out to show that hand scanner where there's little pegs on a flat board and you put your fingers between them and it measures you and IDs you, because everyone would read differently. It's like a human fingerprint is different. Well, this is also different. Body mass, salt, water, resistance, everything is different about a person. So anyway, you don't have to fret. If you did miss Melissa, there you go, missed Solaris's show, you don't worry about it. It's okay, because you can catch up on her shows, our shows, and all the host shows through the archives, which are free at the website, at the station's website. And you can just download them in MP3 format. None of this having to scroll through endless, podcasts, never know what you're going to get. Well, guess what? They're there. They're there as MP3s, and you can binge. And look, here in Australia, we've got the King's birthday for some reason. It doesn't really matter. It's arbitrary. It's like the horse's birthday. It doesn't make any difference. It's just an arbitrary date they popped in the calendar, where we in previous years had celebrated the Queen's birthday. Not this year. Now we start the King's birthday. So if I was to say long live the King, that's appropriate now.
That's right.
Yes. Not the Lizard Queen. I am the Lizard Queen. That's a Simpsons gag, not a David Icke joke. Look,
Or is it?
Hey, it is, maybe. I'm broadcasting out of Darkinjung country. Mackie, where are you today?
I'm in Darak country.
Lovely. Beautiful downtown Darak country.
Downtown.
Downtown.
Midtown Darak for me. Midtown. baby.
Midtown.
Just
I'm
past
uptown.
Just past the L.
I'm uptown. Hills. Narara Hills. There's no such thing. I live in Narara, so you'll find me in the chat room as @Narara. You can ask me questions, and it's all good. Mackie and I, with the greatest humility, humbly acknowledge the traditional custodians of the land, and we pay our respects to elders past, present, and future. Mackie, we did a bit back in episode 461, where I was talking about how things were getting crazy and they were just getting crazier. And, well, back then, 120 shows ago, right? Crazalicious or something we said. There was some kind of, it was interesting and crazy and delicious to have all this new news.
That's what it is.
Yeah. We're still, I think the scale's exponential.
Oh, yeah.
And it's not getting any better anytime soon. That show, the reason why I know is because I had to re-listen to that show this week because YouTube decided to delete it and say that we provided medical misinformation. But what we had done was read out a British medical journal story about Norway and 10 elderly folk, which I won't go into. I don't want this show deleted either. And I said, look, if you make it available for me to download, I'll just edit the bit out. I'm not trying to be incorrect or anything. And the AI said, Roger, no, you are guilty. All right. It didn't say that. That's not true. I'm paraphrasing. It just said, no, your appeal is rejected. The file's deleted. Thank you. Thank you, whoever did that. And it was from the 17th of January, 2021. It's honestly, I'm frustrated beyond belief. This is the frustrated beyond belief sentiment you might be detecting. I don't know if you can. That was sarcasm. And I think, Mackie, that I might be done with YouTube entirely. And I've posted those cancelled ones on Rumble, so go and have a look for them on Rumble. And then you write a comment in the bottom and say, what you really think there. And I think if we were to do that, we can still convene with American broadcast laws, which is bizarre, and then get banned out of YouTube, which we haven't been yet, but there'll be a day. All they have to do is find 3 videos of yours that all fit some kind of cancellation bill, and then you're gone without repeal. There's nothing. I've actually got a copy of every single video we've got up there, so knock yourself out, right? I'm getting disappointed because even though YouTube is kind of an American company, even though you adhere to the broadcast laws within that country, they can still get you on any number of things. And that it does my head in, Mackie. Like, even though we're very careful not to be a complete fool and say the wrong things, even unintentionally, we really try to, and we've got the experience now, 11 years, right? To be careful about, you either ask the question, you pose a question, you avoid specific terms. But it's, to me, like, I think if free speech, if you believe free speech is real, that's fictitious, I think now. I don't think it's really a thing. They allow you to say what they allow you to say. But if Mackie and I changed our platform here just to be, let's say, flat earthers, and debunk everything that is science, how is, while I don't question their ability to do it or YouTube's right to put them there, because what on earth, you're right? They're just generating clicks and ad revenue for the business, for YouTube's business.
Yeah.
But I allow them to do it. I don't have to listen to it, which I don't. I choose not to. I do watch it from time to time to have a little laugh. And Mickey and I have both debunked the entire premise being ludicrous. But if they can talk about that, then I can read a news story from a reputable outlet. And who, that's the WHO, should not be the overlords of all of our societies. It's preposterous. Those times of the time, they never had any real strength. They didn't. They don't have jurisdiction over our countries. But our countries signed into, for a short period of time, to allow them to control, provide advice as to what our local health organisations, so government ones, and how they should operate and what warnings they should be. They're just dictating warnings, right? That's it. They weren't let's shut everything down. They didn't tell YouTube, unless we don't know about this, they didn't tell YouTube, no one's allowed to diss any of the vaccine manufacturers, which we didn't. I even said I'd take the vaccine, naming the brand. And that was the brand that was called out in the news story. So do your own Googling, find the news story for yourself, and have a listen and see if we provided any medical misinformation, which we didn't. We just didn't. I've got some law-y friends, Mecky. They're very law types. You know, oh, so you're the law-talking guy. I put the story to them and said, this is what we said. Here's, I don't know, 28, I said 12 minutes or something like that, right? We talked about it. I said, what did we say? And I said, we didn't breach the policies. We didn't provide misinformation. Now, we didn't go outside of the bounds of the community standards. And we simply read a story out. We didn't have negative sentiment towards the story. We didn't have positive sentiment saying that everyone should do this, or whatever the advice was in the story. We didn't do that. We just read it out as it was. So we're commentators. That's all we are. We hope that we can provide insights. If you commentate enough, you can see direction, I suppose. You can see trends, and we'll provide that. And in this case, we did not. We were commentating on the live situation. So if anyone took a message away from what we read, it would have been awareness of the situation. Yeah. And that's it. So it disappoints me greatly, Mackie. We're actually having to stream this one today to my second channel, to my private channel.
Is that right?
Yeah, because they've blocked us uploading any new videos. Like and that's till September or some crazy thing, right? So I want to ditch YouTube entirely. I want to turn off, my streaming. I've got premium services. They're never going to reconsider. It's like, I don't know how much it is, $20 a month, $19 a month or something. I'm never going to hurt them. There's no ability to hurt them for this, except for just through my sheer disappointment having been with them since the beginning. And then they just turn on you. Right? And you're not talking to a human. There's no human involved. And the last time we got a strike, we weren't even guilty anyway. Not at all. We did nothing wrong. So, look, I'm just going to say, the leftist big tech firms, I think we really, truly are seeing what their true colours are.
Yeah.
And with everything coming down the pike right now, as far as controls, the WEF's Great Reset, which is just getting tighter. It's a slow noose, the slow tightening of a noose. And we are getting there. I'm handing it back to you. That's a long route from me. Sorry, guys.
No. It's you're not wrong though. But I want to apply what you just said to something that probably is everybody's
Don't say wheelhouse.
interest to speak about. It's we all strapped for cash, right? I think that's a fair statement. And today I heard a number of reports. Now, this is coming from the mainstream press, mind you. This is mainstream. Okay, this is not some conspiracy person like Dave and I saying, blah blah blah. This is terrible, and this is what's happening, and the reptiles are going to eat your babies. No, this is coming from mainstream academia, in fact. So we all are suffering from the inflation rate increases, etc., all that stuff, right? Now, the interesting thing here is this. We've just had a couple of... There was one report that came out of Australia, one of the academic institutes, and one came from overseas now, which say that it is, in fact, corporate profits that are to blame for inflation, essentially.
Wow.
Corporate profits. So because people have, the Republicans, but also here in Australia, the liberals, I think liberals, saying, it's wage rises, we shouldn't, that's the problem. That's why
down with the people.
Yeah, down with people. Who needs people? But essentially that's it though. That's what everybody was saying, right? So it doesn't seem to be the case. In fact, if anything, it makes a tiny weeny difference, if any, for what you get in pay rises. So it doesn't really, it really doesn't do much for anyone. Now, the corporate profits though is a whole different thing, and they're massive, especially in Australia, right? So, first of all, as we all know, I think that we are using a completely wrong tool to rein in this inflation, simply because inflation is a function of money in the economy. Money in the economy. What does it mean? It means that if you've got money, or too much money in the economy, everything will become more expensive, right? It's because people, the demand will be higher, but the volume of money will allow for goods to become more expensive. Because the goods themselves don't increase, productivity doesn't increase, but the money supply has. So I've got the same amount of goods, but I've got more money that could go against it, which of course then leads to inflation. Now, that's not really what we're experiencing here, though. What we're experiencing is almost unrelated phenomena, right? So now that's how inflation started, but now what we've done, we've increased interest rates. That was meant to bring down spending in the economy. It has not. It has not. So there doesn't seem to be any effect at all on spending on the people that are affected. Because you have to understand, if you increase interest rates, there are two things you're doing here. One, you're trying to encourage people to save, right? So money in the economy, they simply put it into savings. But look, okay, I think it makes sense. I understand why that would happen. I get it, right? But the interest rates aren't high enough to do that. So we don't have enough money, as it were, right, to encourage people to actually do that. There's just not enough cash that they would gain from the interest in the bank. It's not enough. We haven't made the incentive good enough. Second is to stop people spending money because things are becoming too expensive, right? And also we have made interest rates go up, and that of course leads to people having less money to spend because they spend it on other things like their mortgage, right? Bills are expensive. So, but the thing is, everything is expensive now. Every single thing is expensive. There's nothing anymore that's considered cheap or a bargain. That ship has sailed.
Yeah,
that's gone. So what we have now is a situation where we're destroying the economy because we think we need to, right? Oh, no, we have to do this. But why? Because we have to control inflation. No, you're making inflation worse because the people that you want to stop spending. The big corporate guys, right? They don't have mortgages. They don't care about interest rate rises. Increase the interest rates as much as you want. I don't care. And you know what? I haven't got my money in the bank. I've got my money in shares and in property. I don't put money in the bank as a savings account. I'm a big corporate fat cat. Why would I do that? And it's stupid. Okay? So it's exactly the wrong policy hurting, well, if you want to look at it from an equitable point of view, all the wrong people. This is a really fascinating situation if you think about it for a second. What we're doing is exactly the wrong thing on every level. And we will never rein in inflation this way. We will make it harder for people. We will get people to foreclose on their homes or deciding whether or not they should eat or heat. What are we doing, baby? Eating or heating? I don't know. No, you decide. Okay, now I'm being facetious, right? Look, I'm not trying to make light of it too much, but the truth is, this is a really dire situation for a great many people. We no longer in a world where, oh yeah, we can do this, and we've got some disposable income, everybody's well off. If you're middle class, then your future is relatively secure. That's good. You know, you're doing okay. That's nice. That's gone, Dave. That's completely out the window.
Yeah, I know. Hey, you know, one of those components of your lifestyle that you can't avoid spending money on, and one of those, besides groceries to eat, is fuel for your vehicles.
Yeah.
Now, I'm not sure if you're aware, but I think we're still hovering between $1.80 and $2 a litre for that's the pump price. But the sale price of the Brent crude, that's what we buy,
yes,
is 74 cents, which the US Brent was at this time back in May 2019. We're back to a very reasonable price of fuel, and yet we've not come down from those dizzying heights of over $2.
No, we haven't.
We've only just relaxed a little, but we're not into the 150s where it should be relative to that, or even the dollar, because we only hit the dollar when it went down to that $25 a barrel. Remember, we hit that, I think 95 cents or $1 or something crazy, like from the 70s. But yeah, so right now I see that Saudi Arabia and Iran are working together now, and it's not the US. In the olden days, the US could simply just phone up the Saudis and go, hey guys, can you pump some more fuel into the system, because wow, the price is a bit high. And they go, yeah, sure, yeah, it's all good. Now, no, we're not going to change what we do for you. It's a completely different landscape now, this global hatred of everybody, and everyone's out for $1, right? I don't see any partnerships anymore. I mean, I can't see them at face value.
No, the thing is, in fact, OPEC has just recently decided to curb production to slow down, to increase the price, because again, scarcity. If you've got less production and people want it, then we can ask for more money. It's an artificial tool, but
in fact, they're making more money now on the high prices than they were before.
Yeah, 100%. Because they've got all these projects running, these billion-dollar projects that like the big city. I guess I can call it a city wall, if you will, right? That's that big city in the desert.
Yeah. That's 160 kilometers long, 100-mile long.
Yeah, that's incredible. Now, and they
one
also
continuous building.
Yeah, they did the deal with Gulf now. So the Saudis, especially, are diversifying. They want to get out of, I guess, the oil business. Like they don't want that to be their primary income anymore. Right? What they're after is, we need to do something else. Grand Prix, golf, other things, whatever. So we get all this money. So let's do something that's future-proof. Smart move, as far as I'm concerned. Makes sense. But it's interesting to see now. The price has gone up, the Bowser price is up as well, but everything that we're seeing now, so the Ukraine war is no longer an excuse for high prices.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, the supply chain has been recovered as well. That's no longer an excuse for high prices either. This is now artificially kept up, and this is really the funny thing. To my earlier point, people are profiteering on this, and because people are profiteering and making a lot of profit in the countries where inflation is an issue, this amplifies the issue. People are making a lot more money, and that of course then leads to higher inflation and higher interest rates potentially, because that's the only thing that the Reserve Bank seem to be able to do in their wisdom, and this becomes a vicious circle. And there's this. See, at this point, Dave, I have to say, in a functioning, even a free market democratic society, the government needs to step in and say, no, this is the price for a liter of milk. This is what it is. But no one can profiteer here, and this is the price for or whatever. So we fix the price. Free market is a nice idea. It's a nice idea, but there's such a disparity in the distribution of wealth now, even in first, or maybe especially first nations, first world nations, that it is no longer possible to let the market regulate the money and the prices in the market. It's no longer possible. We cannot do it. We need to look at the government to say, maybe we have to regulate. Maybe we have to regulate. And that's not terrible either.
In Australia, we have what is basically determined the bread line. So that's when you got to line up for bread. The bread line is a measure of items within a shopping cart. I'm saying that for the American audience. We call it a trolley, so shopping trolley. No different from a trash can to a bin or a sidewalk to a footpath. Same things. So the items that are in this shopping cart are determined on the average items that people would need at minimum to survive. It's got milk and bread and all these other things. One of the things that's happened over the last 10 years was artificially reducing those specific items in the shopping cart to make it appear as though inflation was never a thing. Just never. And the big companies that sell groceries appear to have held those, and we talked about it, Mackie. They've talked about it. It's been in the media, that $1 a litre for milk, when even at the time it wasn't cost effective, it wasn't a viable price to sell the milk for, but everyone bent to those demands, and that's what kept the price low. But that's what kept inflation artificially low. Everything else was going up around it slowly, mind you, but these sudden jumps of just abandon that, $1 a litre milk thing, and just put it to where, whatever the current price is. Maybe there was an agreed duration for, I don't know any of that backstory, but all I know is suddenly it's no longer that price anymore, and no one really cared that it went up, because, things just go up. But then suddenly it goes, what do you mean we're at 8% inflation, right? What happened? Housing prices in Australia do not contribute to inflation. Fuel doesn't contribute to the inflationary costs either. So housing prices and fuel, which is the thing that our mortgages, like the mortgage rate itself, doesn't contribute to inflation, like your percentage that you've got to pay back. Oh, and by the way, for everyone who lives in America, we have, I think, is it a 5-year fixed rate term? Is the max?
Yeah.
In America, you can have a 30-year fixed term.
Oh, really? I didn't know that.
Oh, yeah, totally. Totally. And in Australia, we've always been known internationally as someone who will bet on anything. 2 flies on it walking up a wall, or a crab race, as they call it in Darwin, where you just put 2 crabs within a circle and they're numbered and you bet on which one's going to, travel the furthest distance to the outer circle, right? Sure, we'll bet on things. We have the highest uptake of fixed mortgages in the world per capita.
Is that right?
No, variable rate. That's what I meant.
Yeah, that makes sense.
That's what I meant. Yeah. Oh, is that right? Because how does that make it your former sentence work, right? No, right. So variable rate. Because we're kind of that betting mentality. Oh, I'm sure it's going to be better off. Now, I know people who are on fixed rate, and we're on fixed rate of maybe 2 or 3% higher than the variable rate for a very long time. And now the interest rates have come up to what they were spending, their spend was. But then next time they have to renew, they'd suffered greatly because the variable rate was lower. So now that it's kind of matching it, if they do it again, they'll be paying a higher rate again on a fixed price. And yes, it's good for stability because I just pay the money. Well, you can just pay the money on the variable too, by the way. Just saying. So I always pay more than my variable rate anyway, so I don't really care. And that gets my capital down. So I wonder, Mekki, I really do. I'm certainly not in Struggle Street, to be honest with the audience. And I've got a lot of friends who are, and they decide not to drive their motor vehicle because it's so expensive to drive.
Is that right?
Yeah. And it's our only choice, right? So it's choice. You can choose to have 5 jobs if you want. You can afford anything. So I'm a member of a bunch of car groups, and we normally go on car cruises and meetups and things like that. And all of that is wound back. It's all wound back because, to fill your car now is, $120 or something. And just people don't have that money. It was okay if it was $70 to fill your tank. That was okay. That was kind of expected. But now, wow, it's just not viable.
No, it's not.
But, Mekki, I'm just going to say this. There are people now who are talking, and Rowan Atkinson is one, actually. He's saying no to the EV. Like, it's a preposterous notion that you should use more carbon to produce a carbonless vehicle.
Really?
Like, that just doesn't make any sense.
But that's we talked about this. That's exactly the equation.
Yeah, I know. But honestly, the amount of smug and righteousness that I cop from people who have, I think a hybrid is fine. That's a regular petrol engine that uses batteries to reduce the amount of fuel you use. And they actually 1,000 miles on a tank, or 1,000 kilometers on a tank. I'm really happy with that. That's really good. Good for you, right?
Thank you.
I just see a pure EV, especially in Australia, as Mekki and I talk about all the time, is not getting solar energy or green energy to do it. And all of that is a complete farce. It looks like to me, if I had to look at it from a 90,000 feet view, it's just funding the research to get us to Mars. And that's the end of that story. And everyone's on board.
Can't disagree. And look, and that's yeah. Look, it really is funny how these things shake out. Because if you do the analysis, you really have to do the analysis, right? Otherwise, you can't really talk about it. But if you do the analysis, you realize, oh no, hang on, shit, that's true. Oh, sorry, shouldn't have said that. Pardon me. I said shoot.
That's what you said with an accent.
That's it. We now. It costs more from an environmental perspective than it did before. It costs more to run these EVs, and to make them. In fact, making them is also dreadfully expensive. But we don't look at that. We just blindly believe the hype that we all have to go electric. No, unless we get clean electricity. and we find some better manufacturing methodologies and methods, especially for batteries, it's a lot more wearing on the environment than the traditional carbon-based engines, if you know, right? Carbon fuel engines. It's a lot worse driving an electric vehicle. So if you're doing it for the environment, try doing something else. Find something else to do. Find something else to do. This is no longer something that actually does anything for anyone. You know, you gotta find something else. But you can't talk about that because it's now become gospel. It's become an article of faith. You know what I mean? People now believe it. I'm a believer. Look at me. I'm an electric. This and that, and I'm so wonderful. I'm saving the environment. Well, no, you're not. You say, yeah, but you're not actually doing it. So you can't argue, because once it's become an article of faith, you can no longer have a rational argument. Well,
that's absolutely right.
Right? And that's where we are right now. This is the problem. This is the problem with this. See, the thing is this, and I'm sorry to come back on it, but this whole inflationary thing, right? Everybody says, oh, it's the only tool that we have. And people just go, oh, okay. But hang on, no. There's so many other things you can do. Fix the prices for things.
Mm-hmm.
That's a start. So if you fix the price, then they can't go up, and inflation doesn't increase.
Yeah. So fuel has determined the price of transportation of goods for so long. Doesn't matter when this was. If you had to buy food for your horse, I'm just making this up, or your bullock, right? In the olden days, upkeep, had to buy a new bullock. Last one died, too heavy. I'm just making this up. But when we got to diesel fuel and trucks and everything's shipped everywhere, I mean, honestly, everywhere, the price went up when the fuel went up. And the price went up a lot because the fuel went up. Guess how much? A lot, right? And then that seemed to be ignored. And they only blamed the reseller for making the price go up. Whoever was selling the goods directly to the consumer. Like it's our fault, right? I'm not in retail, but it's like our fault for buying that thing because it's more expensive. But I needed it, right? I need my medications. No, so that really annoyed me, Mackie, that they weren't looking at the cause and effect of the fuel price honestly to themselves, looking at themselves in the mirror and repeating the words, I'm being truthful about the cost of living increases.
Well,
I don't think that happened.
It's okay. Again, people will tell you the story they want you to hear, and they will imagine in such a way that the facts, let's call them, in the world, back up the story they tell you. That's essentially what happens. It's unfortunate. There's not much we can do about it. But you have to ask yourself, well, what's the story they're trying to tell me? Okay, that's the story, right. I understand. And then, okay, and what is it they're telling me? Okay, they're telling me this. Now, why are they telling me this? Well, because, okay, I get it. So it becomes a real tedious kind of existence. Because you can no longer take the easy route, Dave. You have to, you actually have to interrogate what goes on in the world. And nobody wants to do that. What? That's hard work. Can't I just believe everything that comes my way? Come on, tell me this. So tell me I can. Tell me I can just believe. I tried to do bad news, but no, brother. You can't just believe what you hear. The problem really is that it's that deep now that we have no choice but to question and constantly question as well. Let me give you a simple example here. Right? Now, I'm not a big Trump fan. I'm not a big. I mean, look, I don't care for the guy either way. But what's happening now is so ridiculously laughable that you have to ask yourself why isn't there more protest against, or with the treatment for Mr. Trump here. People, because what he has done, every president has done. They've all taken documents home. What happened to Hillary Clinton's server? I mean, Dave can sing you a song about Hillary Clinton's server.
It's a very interesting server. And everyone in the world, every agency in the world, and private hackers, just little kids and script kids, had access to the email. In fact, they were all downloaded.
Yeah.
And I'm not going to comment on the contents, but when requested to present the server and its hard drive to court, it's alleged that the person who destroyed it was asked to destroy it by someone within the family. I'm just saying alleged, right? Because I don't know, and that's repulsive. That is, once again, that's a crime to destroy evidence.
Yeah.
And all they had to do was just ring up any other country in the world who had access to it and go, "How much of that email did you get?" "Oh, I've got all of it." "Great. How about we subpoena that to appear in court?"
Yeah.
Could have done that. Right.
Think about that for a second.
You can spend hours on a Jet database recovery, Mickey. I know personally.
I know.
I think 60 hours recovering database.
It's astounding, and again, all presidents have done it, and most presidents, give their records over to the National Archives. It's just a thing that happens.
But they've got the right to declassify it.
Yeah, but it would have happened with this as well. I mean, it's like, I don't think. Why would he hang on to it? It makes no sense. I mean, it's my opinion. Right?
Well, what about all those documents that Biden had over his entire career, even though he wasn't president, stored in his garage with his Pontiac, right? And next to his bed. And he can't declare that they were all there. They weren't even locked. They were just in boxes, allegedly.
Yeah.
So what happened to that?
Yeah, exactly. What? No, but that's the point, right?
It's a witch hunt again.
Absolutely.
I think he holds the Guinness Book of Records for the most indictments.
But it's because there haven't been any before. yes, that's true. No American president was indicted before him. It didn't happen. Not even Nixon, right? Nobody, not a one. So you're right. that is a correct statement, Dave.
Crowd goes wild. I needed something to be right about.
If your bar is zero, then anything above it is a winner, right?
That's right.
No, but look, all jokes aside, again, it comes down to the narrative, everybody, right? And I know we harp on about it, but that's probably the most fundamental aspect of our show, is to show you all that you cannot believe what they tell you. And I don't care who tells you what, either. Because everybody has an agenda. Anybody that puts anything out into the world for someone else to see has an agenda. They do it for a reason. Okay? Everybody. There's no single person that doesn't have an agenda if they put something out into the world. It doesn't happen. Okay? It is not a thing. And the sooner we realize this, the better off we all are, because we have to understand just how much lying and deception and obfuscation and falsification and it goes. There's just an astounding amount of misinformation and information that might not be necessarily considered misinformation, but it's information that is either lying to you, right, or giving you a story that is not true.
What about only allowing one voice of a two-sided conversation?
Very much.
That is a very strong position to take if you're a government enforcing one side or silencing one of the two voices in a conversation. You only hear one side of the story. And I think the Twitter files rammed it home for me that they had CIA people working in there in roles in Twitter telling, advising the path that Twitter should take. And it just simply became a self-supporting leftist agenda to silence the right. But in fact, by doing so, and I do hope this comes out in litigation at some point, that it was proven that the CIA assisted and big tech was complicit in altering the path of the election by silencing one side's voice in it. And I don't think that that's, I mean, I truly believe that that's not right, that that shouldn't have taken place, that lies propagated into news, which ended up being reported to as fact, but wasn't real. And if I was to do that, I'd have a real hard time trying to defend that. But these people are untouchable, apparently.
Clearly.
All of those people, and I'm not saying any names, because it's all alleged.
Well, you know, but in some instances, the alleged component is goes by the by, because these are assumed truths. Right? Yes, they're allegedly guilty, but everybody knows they're guilty because that's what they've been told. So yes, you're right. It should be an alleged thing, but it's not, because people have been told the story. So it's a trial by media in many ways as well, right?
Yeah, as well. That's right. So look, other countries have other ways of solving things, Mackie, like in Mother Russia, KGB, a little bit killing. There are slippery floors and open windows.
So slippery.
They're so you don't know how slippery. These are slick. These have a coefficient of 0 or -5, right? You actually get faster when you slide on these slippery floors, and uncontrollably fall out of a high-rise window. And that happens to medical people researching stuff, Mackie, that we've spoken about in the past, or if you dissent anything against the current active government. Yeah. So I'm just going to bring it back. I kind of feel humble that all I did was get a video taken down because of what some bot somewhere thought I said about something with sentiment analysis that was completely incorrect. I'm lucky, Mackie, that I don't live in a high-rise with slippery floors and open windows, because that could have happened in another country.
You're not wrong, Dave. You're not wrong. And we should count our lucky
count our blessings, I suppose. So this is that part of that Stockholm syndrome that I've missed so much.
Isn't that the truth?
I really feel sorry for them having to had to deal with it like that.
Yeah.
So Becky, I got to say something really, really crazy. There's a guy. I'm just going to put it on the middle screen, so at least it's on the video and I can prove it. You can look at this yourself. This guy asked AI about the second coming of Jesus, and its response left me stunned. Is the video title? There's one part in there where he talks about it. He asked it to write a sermon, as though he was a vicar going to deliver this to his congregation. Okay. And it wrote like a 5-paragraph sermon for him to be able to talk about AI and how that's going to how it mixes in with the Bible. It's extraordinary. And a powerful deception. Point 1, in the book of Revelation, we find warnings of great deceptions that will arise in a world in the end times. Revelation 13 speaks of a beast that will deceive people with miraculous signs. It is interesting to consider how AI, with its ability to imitate human behavior and intelligence, could be utilized to deceive the masses. We have already witnessed the development of deepfake technology, which can create convincing counterfeit videos. This raises concerns about the potential for AI-driven deception on a grand scale during the end times. That's one of the... That's a very interesting angle, which I have not explored. Just going to be honest with you, it wasn't me that did it.
No, I hear it. Yeah, no, that is a very interesting... look,
it's an interesting view, isn't it?
You can't... Okay, so this is going to sound crazy. I know.
Time starts now.
Well, yeah. If in fact, if we're living in a multiverse, or
Mhm.
in an infinite universe. Either.
Oh.
Right? Then everything is true somewhere.
Mm-hmm.
Simple example, we went through this before. If either of those statements are true, there's no such thing as fiction.
Yeah, because it's true somewhere.
It's true somewhere,
Mm.
right? Now that's a pretty strong statement. I get that. I do get it, but it is true. It's a strong statement, but it's also a true statement. So, by that token, yeah, what that person said would be true somewhere. Absolutely, 100%, no doubt whatsoever. Okay,
All right.
and
Full
and who am
circle
I to
there, yeah.
say?
Mm-hmm.
Because, I mean, yeah, it's a thing, could very well be true.
It could, you know.
Don't know, but could. So yeah, it's a very interesting realization. Once you fully understand, or at least you can appreciate, let's say quantum physics and what we think it tells us, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, okay. Well, if that's true, then yeah, I get it. It has to be. It has to be that. It can't be anything else. So there's no such thing as a lie. There's no such thing as deception. Because whatever I told you, it's true somewhere. Right? So there's a
you're lucky you're not my kid.
version. It's a thing. It's a thing, and you can argue it if you want to. If the universe is infinite, or we're living in a multiverse which is equally infinite, either way, right? Either or both. Then yeah, whatever you say is true.
Wow. I imagine boiling my parents' brains with that response when they said, "Did you eat all the ice cream?" You're holding the spoon and the ice cream container that's now empty, and you say, "No."
No. What? Well, when you say you, what do you mean? In my multiversal manifestation, which you are you referring to? Well, I'm referring to the you that's gonna get a taste of my belt and then get grounded for a month. Oh, right, that you.
Well, if it were me and I was being questioned, and I'd given one spoonful to the dog, for instance, just so I knew this question was coming in foresight, I could say no, I did not eat all of the ice cream. And then might drop the spoon and walk away.
By the way, there is no spoon.
And that's when you hear the of their brains exploding.
Look,
not saying it was easy for my parents or anything, but
even if our statements are true, it is still important
30
to
seconds.
do the right thing.
10 seconds.
Fight the power.
No seconds.
Fight the power.
Oh, that's the end of the first hour. Coming up after the break, we're going to be doing The Unseen World Part 3. It'll be a new YouTube, so we're going to cease this one and start another one, all right? But it's only a short break. Use the time to donate. Maybe get a refreshment.